But in 2020, there was this report. And the report said, Uganda's policymakers should seriously rethink. It's actually a report that we should give as a reading material in their future Fondre trainings. We should give them to study that report. We need to seriously rethink the approaches being used to implement science, technology, and innovation in the country, if we are to achieve the aspirations laid out in Vision 2040. Now, Vision 2040 is science-led. The aspirations are that this is going to be a modern nation. And Vision 2040 is being implemented in 6 5-year national development plans. Now, National Development Plan 1 is over. National Development Plan 2 is over. 2020, we are in National Development Plan 3. And science is not showing up. So government is like, if science doesn't report, we are not going anywhere. The population is increasing. Science was supposed to guide it. Planning is just getting disorganized. Science was supposed to guide it. The economy is not growing as fast. Science was supposed to guide it. Health facilities are congested. Science was supposed to guide it. We are building schools endlessly. People are giving birth. Ugandans are doing that job very well. And whereas initially we said every parish should have UPE in primary school, they have full. And science was supposed to guide that, but science has been reported on duty. And that's why at the interface between NDP2 and NDP3, this report made a very powerful recommendation. This report came out in December 2020. We were in COVID, but the president in 2021 decided to see if we could try to find ways to rethink the approaches so that we can get reforms and maybe we will begin to enable science. Now, all this time we have an increasing population of scientists. Initially, to do a PhD, if you did your PhD here in Uganda, you could take 15 years. Masters took up to 10 years. Because of the supervision, because of the facilities, because of the money. So the only people who did postgraduate successfully in time, they went outside. PhD, they went outside. Now every university I had even students approved PhDs. They are applying. So you can do a PhD in your neighborhood. So the scientists have increased because being able to do PhDs means you have sufficient supervision power. You have sufficient laboratory capacity. You have sufficient sources of information to inform the students. So we started a reform in 2021, and that reform is actually what brought, we had a Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation at that time. The ministry was closed. And some of the things that I will be sharing in this presentation have been brought in place. But first, there has been now a very clear statement of the vision. What's the vision? The vision is we need a science-led modernization of the nation before 2040. The time of tolerating certain things. Yesterday I was driving to Kawangasi, and I was just trying to put myself in the eyes of the Chinese who are visiting us. I was just wondering what they see. What do they see? What do they see? Because who has been to China? Who of us has been to China? Modern infrastructure. It's like you're shy to put up your hand. Who has been to China? Very modern infrastructure. For us, Sam is there putting up his hand. None of us has been there. Very modern infrastructure. Very modern buildings. And I unknowingly demanded that I tour the labs. I thought they had left. I thought the Chinese had gone. So I asked them, they said, I don't know when I'll come here. I want to have a visual impression of what you have in the lab. The lab is a building with some 3 sinks on the side and a few glassware. Not even the complete set of glassware, but a few burettes and some. What are these round flasks?
Conical flasks.
Yes. Not these other conical. They are those
Round bottom.
Yeah, that is all that is there. In 2024. Now we must have a science-led modernization of the nation by 2040. And the vision economy is 550 billion. Currently, we are barely 50 billion, about 50 something. Not yet fully 55. And we want to, this has to be achieved through something called the qualitative, what is it? Qualitative, not just quantitative, and I will be sharing that. And this has to be fueled by the knowledge economy. By the knowledge economy. The Science, Technology and Innovation Secretariat, as Professor has said, and I'm going to propose to the Vice Chancellor, that the members of BUEC should spend at least each should spend at least 3 months working at the Secretariat. Embedded in the Secretariat. So you take out like a sabbatical, come and work at the Secretariat. Then you'll understand what we mean. Because we can't talk, we just tell you what it is. I found this in Mauritius. In Mauritius, you cannot be accredited to teach the next year unless you spend time at industry. They don't want you to teach their children history. Because curriculum comes from industry, not from textbooks. Textbooks are history. By the time people publish enough papers and then people sit down and compile papers, if you look into the references and see when the knowledge was generated, it is history. So, to infuse this spirit, we will provide for, just come spend 3 months working with us. And then you'll understand. So what we did is, okay, now the reforms are here. President has established a secretariat, and he has told us to create a system, which I'll share with you a bit later, instead of a sector. A system instead of a sector. And how does science work? How does it work to create the economy that the president wants? So we went into history, and Global dived deep into research. We've studied over 30 nations, studying their economic development history. So one of those we studied was South Korea. They call it the miracle of the Hans River. It's the miracle of development. People don't know how it has happened. So we went deep into, starting from 1960, South Korea got independence at the same time as us. And around 1962, I think. And they were poorer than us at that time. So we have studied their history. What were they doing at the different points in time? You look at here, they were mainly textiles. They were doing textiles. They had some, I think the slide has been messed up a bit. I think in the transfer it has been messed up a bit. But anyway, we studied through the timelines, what have they been doing? What has been in the economy? What has been in the education system? What has been in, and it grew from 155 GDP per capita to 32,000, and they have been higher, to 32,254 GDP per capita. GDP is the value of wealth created by the population, new wealth created. The value of wealth created that year. It's not necessarily income, but the wealth that has been created in the nation. The value of goods and services produced for sale that year. And you can see the high level of productivity. You can see how, and then we studied how they shifted through. We went to another nation called Mexico. Mexico had 359, very rich compared to South Korea at that time when they started. And they have been doing, we studied what they have been doing over the years. They are at about, when the last was about 11,000. 11,000. Why should one nation grow to 32,000 and another one grows from a higher value? And when you look at Mexico, it's big compared to South Korea. And when you look at the resource base, it's much bigger. South Korea has no natural resources. Even the soil, we would take the soil from Uganda and use it there as fertilizer for their soil. But they were able to grow that much. And Mexico, being very close to America, very close to markets, only grew. They grew, but they grew to 11. So we study what they do. And then we had Morocco. We have studied very many. We have these graphs and detailed pages and pages of research data on each of these nations. This is just for presentation. We looked at Morocco. Morocco starting at around the same time as a little higher than South Korea. They've done a number of things through, and when you reach there, it is one of those African nations that we think they are doing well. But look at, in the same time of 2022, look at the GDP per capita. Then, sorry, this is yours truly. This is yours truly. We were at 55 in 1960. Some of you are going to say, oh, things were better in those days. Absolutely no. We are not better. Remember, we were producing a lot of cotton, high volumes of cotton. We were producing coffee, we were producing tea, we were producing copper, we were producing tobacco, and we had the GDP per capita was 55. So where was the wealth? So those lies that things were better those days, they were not. There hasn't been a good time for us. So we have gone, of course, in the 1970s, we had sanctions, we had collapse of trade, had economic sanctions, we went into recession, then we had a period of recovery, and one of the things pushed was coffee. Then the coffee prices collapsed suddenly. And so the economy went back down, and then we went into expansion, and the privatization period here sort of showed a little bit of, then we were just staggering. Then in this period where the telecoms came, Airtel, MTN, services started to come. And so the GDP grew very sharply up to 2010. And we can look into what have we done. This is when we started some of the manufacturing in the country. It looks so rapid growth because the scale here is really small. It's a big scale. So we wanted to show at least where the growth happened. And then we have undertaken so many policy things here. But where are we? Recently we crossed the $1,000. We are now 1,000, I think, and 70 something. So we are in the lower middle income. But it is like, I don't like cold water. I don't like cold water. So if the water was at 20 degrees for me to shower, and you raise it to 22, it's still cold. It's still cold. So we don't feel, you don't feel the change because it's still suboptimal. So what have we been doing? We are looking into them. So when many times people tell you, let us concentrate on our competitive advantage, what do you always say? What is our competitive advantage? Agriculture. How have we done it? Where have we done it to make it very good? Science has been estimated that should contribute 136 billion to GDP. GDP is new wealth. So by 2040, science should be contributing about 136 billion annually to GDP. And if we do that, then this science will also spur the other, but this is knowledge economy, products coming out of knowledge and services coming out of knowledge. So that is what is guiding our development. Now this is now formal. You saw it read in the budget. Now some people are comfortable putting down plans and then waiting to apologize at the time of reporting, or simply ignoring what you promised and you find the other things to report and then plan. Why plan if you don't intend to implement? Even you in your departments and your subjects, and when you plan, that's a commitment. You know, one time I just got, it's a scripture in the Bible. It says God has no interest in fools who do not fulfill their oaths. Because a promise is a vow, a plan is a vow. And see, I was like, God has no interest. What does that mean? He's not interested in that category of people. So the nation and the Ministry of Finance, National Planning Authority, has promised these are the growth sectors. And let me tell you, the courage to promise these things has come because of what we have promised to do in science. That's what has brought this courage. You put science, technology, and innovation, and as one of these. But you cannot do mineral development without science, technology, and innovation. You cannot. You cannot do anything, any additional value cannot be got out of tourism unless you deploy science, technology, and innovation. And you cannot do agro-industrialization without deploying science, technology, and innovation. So basically what I'm saying is these growth sectors are anchored in science, technology, and innovation. And the higher you go in the education system, the more consumer consumption. When we talk about research, immediately the mind of the scientist goes to importation of equipment, importation of reagents, importation of everything. They never see the environment as a source of raw materials. There is no value addition which is taught. Even where we teach some value addition as co-curricular activities, the attitude is that they are inferior. And if you go into those crafty things, then you have failed. You're a failure in life. You could do those as hobbies, but not to build the economy. And then we found a heavy use consumer consumption. So with education, we get the less than 5% value. With the health, we get the less than 5% value. With agriculture, we get the less than 10% value. No wonder our economy is what it is. What is the implication of this? The implication is that science, technology, and innovation education in our curriculum, in our education system, is based on raw material production. No wonder all our people push raw material production. I can even map the courses you are teaching at Musenero. I can map them. We can do an exercise while we are here. Draw these 3 phases and map the courses, including the detailed content, and we see how many will fall in the different phases. And you know the interesting thing is that this goes on without us protesting. We are not even aware that it is happening. You are not alert to it. Once we tell you to delegate your thinking to us, then we can make you anything. You leave us to think for you. Then we tell you and you do, and you feel very proud that you're doing very well. You're actually prestigious that you're doing very well. So the science just raw materials and enables, and we cannot build an economy by focusing on less than 10% and less than 5%. You can't. And that's why we are where we are. All our scientists who are supposed to bring the ideas to drive the economy, they are concentrated in those areas. The second implication is that all the graduates now from our education system at all levels, including the scientists, the policymakers, the legislators, the lawyers, the advisors, consultants, businessmen, economists, traders, talk about everything. We are all black box. We call this a black box. A black box is a concept you've heard when a plane crashes. When a plane crashes, we call it they look for a black box. It's a concept which arose during the Second World War when they were using warplanes. They developed a gadget which could record what happens in the cockpit. The only issue they put in is that if the enemy finds that black box, they cannot tell what is in it. They are only very special people who understand how that information is coded and it works. And it takes those people to decode and get that information. So this is where we got. So this thing works on us, and we don't even know how it works. But you find a lot of opposition to science. You find our planners think that we are jokers. The policymakers will make lip service and bypass science. They will not allocate resources. I've yet to find an economist who understands how innovation works in the entire country, despite the multiple PhDs that we have in this country. I have yet to find one economist, the advisors to our government, who understands. In fact, because the president insists on science, usually they are trying to see how they can dodge, either I don't bring up my things or what, because they are not bad people. They just have no idea how the whole damn thing works. They have no idea, even you here. You have no idea. You think you are really doing a good job, and you are trying the best, but you are not aware that it even exists. You're not aware of this simple concept I've been presenting here. It doesn't exist in your day-to-day life. So, we are able to admire from afar. Admire, we go to Israel and we're like, you go to Holland, you're like, Mama, why can't we also do this? When you come back here, we give you 2-3 weeks, you are back. You are back to doing things the way. Yes. So, we lack skills to build systems, to start this new thing. What is ongoing has imprisoned us. So we know it's not working. That's why everybody complains, goes on TV. You see our education system is not aligned to the aspirations of the nation. We all know that. But so what? We are incapable of getting out of there until we diagnose the disease. So you find ideas emerge from the illiterate, and the educated immediately dismiss it. Since the educated are the ones in charge of resources and planning and what, these guys will have good ideas and nobody will even listen to them. The scientists who attempt and do some R&D, they don't understand the journey. I'm going to mention the journey shortly. So after they have this grand idea, they start, then they discover they don't know. They don't know how to go to the next step. They start becoming grandpreneurs. They are stuck where they made promises, we're going to give you a car, we are going to make a car, we are going to do this and this, but now they cannot get it. So what happened? They keep asking for more money, and nothing is coming out. So most scientists will give unrealistic promises because they don't know how this journey works. It's not part of the education system. Then scientists who get it, maybe they work outside a bit, they find it very difficult to implement because there will be zero support. The support will be misunderstood, you'll be ridiculed, you'll be, you don't have the support system. Because remember, your entire support system is made up of black box individuals. They don't see what you're seeing. They are not bad. They just don't see. It doesn't exist for them. So, what is in the black box? This is summary of what is lacking in the black box. We omit the scientific process. We omit the understanding of value chains. We omit content about the journey an idea walks to the market. We do not have appropriate, and we do not train on how to establish a supportive ecosystem. And we omit the value of integrity in the STI. So let me briefly walk through. This is a concept most of you have talked about as the scientific process, the scientific approach. but you have left it in the textbook or in your notes when you've given it to the students. Usually you teach them when they are going to do their projects, and you've never seen it. Now, I have been taking a small course online at MIT. My goodness, this is big. This is big. And for BOEC, we need to follow this to determine. So we define the task. What is it that you have to do? Or sometimes they say define the problem and understand the requirements. We have modified this, we have operationalized it from the one that you typically teach. So what are the requirements? What would be the requirements to have this thing work? For example, Professor Lira asked, why did we choose the 5 instead of just taking 1? We tested that. We asked the questions. We worked through, came up with a hypothesis, designed experiments, collected data, analyzed the data, make inference from the data, and then define how. So this is how at STI we make decisions. You don't just walk into the minister's office and say, Honorable, we want to do this. I will ask you, what's the task? Have you taken it through the scientific process? And because of this, we are able to do a lot with little money. Because and you need to go through this. Why these products? Are they the best? And don't get very attached to things because of sentiments, because of historical, this is what these people do. Sometimes it requires for you to throw out everything and come up with something new. The second thing, we don't teach that. We don't teach this process. So even when we are determining big projects for the nation, it is a sentimental. We don't collect the data. We don't base it on a very objective system and obey the results and what they are telling us. And this process is deep. Joshua leads what we call value chain analysis. But it is deep. Professor was with us when we were in Ginger, taking everybody through this. It's a very grilling exercise. And most of us, we are like, let other people do them for us. The thinking is done here. Number 2, value chain approach. We look at commodities as commodities. We don't look at value chains. You just look at the price of coffee has gone up. Coffee is a whole industrial value chain. It's a big industrial value chain. And so long as for us we can get coffee and sell it as a commodity, we are okay. And most times we are growing it at a loss because we don't look at the value chain. How is it going through? So at national level, we have prioritized these value chains scientifically, the ones that I've shared with you. Looking at natural therapeutics, for example, just using this as an example, what we are doing in Kabwangasi. We went through, this is one of the value chain analysis. Who are the players? These are the players' value chain analysis. This is environment, it's in a different ministry. This is herbalists, they are in the Ministry of Gender. Even the technicians here, I don't know where they fall. Then we come to natural chemotherapies, these are in the Ministry of Health. Then when you come intellectual property, it's Ministry of Justice. You come to research, Ministry of Education, Health and Agriculture. You come to clinical trials, it's Ministry of Health, STI, UNCS, it's multi-sectoral. And if you don't have a system to bring all these people to play, you will never build the industry. You will never build it. You just have Uganda Dagalana Liayo playing here in the Ministry of Gender. and you stay there. Uganda, and people talk about natural therapeutics, but they remain a subsistence product, which keeps us in poverty. Have you seen any herbalist who is rich? Have you seen them rich?